Fuck
Let's go,
Joe Biden.
Wait.
Wait.
Fuck yourself, all right?
Okay.
Get it right. 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Fuck
Let's
Joe
go,
Biden.
Brandon?
Biden. Okay.
Right.
Last time.
I think I understand.
3, 2, 1. Fuck Joe Biden. There we go.
Yes.
That's it.
Let's go,
That's
Brandon.
the one. Exactly. He
That's-
won a race.
That's what we were saying
the guy
whole
won
time.
a race. You gotta go with the guy that wins the races.
Listen. I'm just over the moon about Brandon. I think, he's got a good career ahead of him, racing around and
You know what? He
making
had a
left
good
turns.
car right there, a good in couple turns. They get a good pit stop right back to the last couple 20 miles, and then by God, he drafted off another couple.
By the way, for all you SJWs out there, this is not racism. We are from flyover country, okay? We're legally allowed to talk
we
like
know how they talk.
Yes.
I could have just as easily said, they better cut that grass down by the ball field or else one of them fucking darn players is going to turn an ankle and then the stage is all ruined at that now.
David, how did we go from let's go Brandoning to this? I think we should.
It was pretty organic.
I think we should stop while we were ahead
if I can say that,
go into the episode. What do you say about that?
It's pretty organic.
You think so?
It's good for you.
Okay.
It's farm to table. Earth to mouth.
Okay. Well, let's give him this USDA choice episode. Ready?
Great A.
Let's do it. Welcome to Weapons of Meme Destruction Podcast, episode 64, which can be found at wmdpodcast.com/64. You can find us on every major podcast app, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, you name it. But you can also find us on our social medias on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. So just Google Weapons of Meme Destruction, track us down, link up with us.
We're being super slutty on TikTok, so you might want to check that one out.
And
real soon.
Check in on us regularly, make sure that, Joe hasn't black-bagged us for not getting our chants right.
Dane.
Okay, I thought we rehearsed the chants. I didn't know what, okay, we did.
We did it.
Right,
we did it. We nailed it at the end.
Let's just hope we don't wake up in a CIA black site.
You just got to get it on the 4th to 5th or 6th take. Anywho, all I'm saying is that...
What are you saying?
We just had a whole week's worth of interviews dropped on them a week ago. And first of all, I just want to thank everybody that we interviewed.
Yes.
At the Solutionary Summit, and especially Larry Sharp. Kicked it all off. And now we're kind of back to normalcy,
regularly scheduled programming,
and we're gonna be revamping the show very soon. That's all I wanted to say. Dane, take it away. What are we talking about today?
I'm even surprised by this revamp revelation. I can't wait to hear what it's gonna be about.
We've only been working on it since its inception, but
all right,
someone's camera shy.
So, you're probably wondering, Dane and David. You already apologized last week with 4 straight days of interviews, 5 full days of your guys'
just
ugly
viewing,
faces,
just interviewing, just getting it in.
Why are you giving me 2 episodes this week? Well, because of the whole missed week and stuff like that, we got a week ahead, and we thought, you know what? The empire's collapsing way too fast to go, 2 weeks between events because so much stuff happens in 1 week. To stay topical, we got to get it relatively close to release date. So you're getting fresh.
Double barrels.
As fresh as we got it.
Double
off the
barrels.
presses episode right now
right in your
on a Friday. So you're going to head into your weekend
memed or destructed. You're gonna like your weekend, I guarantee it.
So what are we in? Are we in the first week of October? Yeah, pretty much.
All I can guarantee you is that freaking Mercury is in retrograde hardcore.
Something is amiss.
Something's awry. I feel like every Monday is a new season of what could go wrong this week. And then the rest of the week is just figuring out what went wrong on Monday. And then you sleep on Sunday and boom, Monday again. I feel like our listeners can kind of attach to that a little bit.
Yeah, it's world's gone a little bit crazy recently. But on this week in particular, there was one theme that just kept smacking us in the face, and we're like, "This is what we got to talk with the people, with our people about." The people. You have to be, and again, we've probably said this 10 different ways, but I'm going to say it a little more clearly this time. You have to be wary of a narrative that is either too simple or too good to be true.
Or that's been said by other people, but once it's said by the right people, everyone follows.
Yeah, and right people as defined by what are they asking for, which, we're going to get more into that later. But to really bring it home with the two events that happened this week that made us think of this is both the Pandora Papers and the Facebook whistleblower events. Both of those are
Pandora Papers.
Yeah.
It sounds familiar. Does it sound like a little bit like 2016?
Was that what year the Panama Papers were?
Panama Papers. I circa 2016. It was around then, but it feels like we've been doing this before and it's going to happen again. It's happened before and we're doing it again. So
basically the narrative that was the takeaway from the Panama Papers is the same thing anybody's talking about with the Pandora Papers, is that the narrative is just supposed to be simple. It's not supposed to be complex. There's not supposed to be any nuance. Don't ask too many questions.
Rich people.
You need to read this headline. Exactly. The rich are really screwing you over by not paying taxes.
And how do we fix this, Dane? We write new legislature that can definitely put more of a squeeze on the rich people that already found a way around the first 2,000 squeezes, quote unquote, that they put on them. So there's no way they're going to find a way around this one, right, Dane? Right?
Well, the direction I would take it is it's always billed as we got to soak the rich.
Right.
But people don't realize
if we only taxed them 1%, by God.
So here's the first level of nuance on this story, just on that particular selling point, because that's the government's favorite, right? Because it really taps into that fear that, again, you've seen all throughout COVID. If they can get you afraid, they can get you to agree to damn near anything. So the rich are cheating. They're the reason why the world's burning, yada, yada, yada. That's the narrative. That's the talking point. Well, here's a little historical fact for you. In 1913, when the first legislation was passed that brought the income tax to the American taxpayer, the provisions were that it started at $3,000 of income a year and ended at $500,000. If you made $3,000, you were taxed at a rate of 1%. $500,000 as high as 6%. But it gets even better than that. Only 3% of the entire American population got caught up in that income tax. 97% of people made less than $3,000 a year. So it was billed at, we're going to only get the rich, and we're only taking between 1% and 6%. The richest person in the country is only getting taxed at 6%. Where are we at today with the income tax, people? 15%, if you're like scratching the poverty line, they're going to get almost an entire fifth of your income. And then if you happen to just be a lucky person that just scrapes your way into the middle class, you're getting taxed between 20 and 30%. So almost a third of your income.
Well, as a private business owner myself, Dane, my business being my business, I think it's a quarter of what I make I'm supposed to pay.
Yeah, which is exactly what you do pay and more because you're a good citizen.
Exactly. Yes. And you know what? I just want to see those children educated. I just want to see those roads paved so smooth. I just want to see, the general infrastructure of our country.
Pristine. Should be, right?
But hearkening back to why you got canceled, Dane, knowing why you got canceled, I I shudder at the thought that a single dollar of my taxes should go to something against my will, like, I don't know, bombing a wedding in another country of complete innocence that had nothing to do with anything in political geostratospheres. And you know what? I want my money back. I want my money back from that. How much did that Tomahawk missile cost that killed that entire wedding, by the way? And I want all that back and then some.
Yeah, and that's what, and again, this is why this episode is so important in light of that canceling, because if you'll remember from that explanation is I made essentially that point, right? Why the taxing is inherently immoral because it goes to stuff like that, to which then, a guy responded that how can you possibly object about taxes there when taxes also pay for dolphin murder and I think something like rat sex or something like that. Something ejaculation, dolphin ejaculation, and whatever. Anyway, point was...
You were less egregious with your attack?
Yeah, I called him a potato for that word salad.
Oh my God!
Completely missing...
He didn't sexually identify as a potato. That's why it was indignant and racist of you to say that.
And that's because of this meme that we're trying to destroy right now about simplifying the narrative and make somebody afraid of another group of people. It doesn't always take rich versus poor. Sometimes it's racialized, and sometimes it's based on religion, and sometimes it's based on gender, and sometimes there's all kinds of inputs they can put in to make you fear another group. But the point is, fear them, get mad at them, so you're not paying attention to what we are doing. We being government, the cathedral more broadly speaking.
All I'll say is thank God there's not a mass social media device that creates echo chambers to do exactly that. I would be so remiss. That would be
very sad.
I would hate to think that there's an entity or a app that I can download on my... Well, I don't even have to download it anymore. It just comes standard, and it's logged in when I log into my phone. So, thank God that it's not trying to absorb all of my data.
And that is point two. But before we leave the Pandora Papers, there's more nuance to it than just that. About the slow creep of government. We only got to close these loopholes to get the rich today. That's definitely not, the net is not going to get cast wider out to all of you. In addition to that, think about what you're told to be outraged about with the Pandora Papers. It's supposed to be, again, like we said, a simple story. Rich people didn't pay taxes. Bad rich people, we're mad at them.
Hasn't that been the story since the 1980s? At least since we've been alive. That's always been the rich evade the taxes because they can buy the good lawyers that get them out of those taxes to find the loopholes, this, that, and the other. It's like, at what point do you have to keep running on that treadmill to realize that, they're putting me on the treadmill. They're giving me what I want to see. They're putting that carrot in front of my face. Never mind, it's attached to a string. Or a stick that I'm never going to actually reach that carrot. They're just going to keep saying it, and then they're going to keep writing rules that increase my taxes, saying that they're going to increase the other people's taxes.
Yeah. That's how we start out with 3% of the population paying income taxes about 108 years ago. Only 3% paying taxes, and the max you could get taxed is 6% of your income versus today, where the lowest tax bracket, you're getting taxed at almost 3 times what the highest got in 1913.
Would it seem like they're trying to keep you exactly where they're at?
Yeah.
Would it seem like that's what they're doing? Okay.
However, the additional nuance to this situation is, first and foremost, I'm going to put that out there. I know this triggers people, but I don't really care. Taxation is theft.
Trigger warning.
And here's the analogy, which, again, they try to fight the hypothetical all day long and say, it's a bad analogy because you get roads and schools and stuff. So here's my analogy. You and your buddy are standing on a street corner, and a robber comes up to you and puts a gun in your face. Says, give me money. Somehow your buddy escapes, but you don't. You have to give the robber money. You gonna be mad at your buddy for escaping, or you gonna be mad at the guy that stuck a gun in your face?
You're gonna be mad at the buddy Because he didn't back you up. He didn't have your back.
Because he ran away.
See, he ain't gangsta in these streets.
Yeah. Or how about, well, yeah, but your taxes also go to help people. Okay, I'm going to come up to you and I'm going to stick a gun in your face and say, give me $10. I'm going to go around the corner. I'm going to give $5 to a poor guy and keep $5 for myself. What I did to you, sticking the gun in your face, was that immoral? And then we'll get, oh no, that's not the same. That's not the same. Again, forget about me helping the poor guy. I'm being generous by saying the government actually gives 50% of what you donate to actual good causes. It's far less than that. But let's say $5. When I stuck the gun in your face at that point, that act of forcibly taking your property against your will, was that immoral? And if it is, why doesn't it matter? Why would it matter in one context and not in the context of the state?
Because we're moving goalposts.
Of course.
But here's the thing, and I'm going to tell you, is that I don't have a thing right now. I had it 5 minutes ago, but you blandered on.
I was angry.
You were blathering. Anyway.
State makes me angry.
The state does make you angry. What were you just saying, Dane? Maybe you'll jumpstart the two analogies.
Robber trying to rob you, your friend gets away, who are you mad at, the robber or your friend? And then the second one is, does the fact that I did some good with the money that I stole from you make the fact that I stole from you okay?
So
I spilled some water. That's why David squealed.
It's on nothing important. It's only on your body and nothing else.
Pretty much.
Anywho, it didn't jog my memory, but what I will say is that it seems like, again, it's a running line in our podcast is that we keep saying when they say it's for you,
that's when your ears should
when you should go, your spidey senses should be tingling. No matter what multi-universe you're in, no matter what Disney fuckery is about, when they say, we're doing this for you.
I'm from the government, I'm here to help. Yeah,
I'm from, exactly. It's like, okay, that's cool. You've been saying you're going to tax the rich for the better part of, this is, what year is this? 2021?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they've been saying that for at least 1950. So I'm not great at math. I'm pretty sure though. Pretty sure 70. 60
I don't know
years?
what you're getting in 1950, 60, 70.
I'm just saying that's like since the 1980s, since we've been alive, we've taxed the rich. We did it. How about? But ever since we've been alive, they've never been able to nail down the rich. God damn it! It's like trying to nail Jell-O to a wall. They just slip out every time. So it's like, when are you going to wake up and realize when they're telling you they're going to tax the rich, who's putting them in their positions? Who's supporting their candidacy? Who's giving them the voice to say that they can tax the rich? Just, food for thought.
Which brings me to the last point of this, the little distinction is now setting aside the immorality of taxation itself and how evading it is not necessarily it might be illegal, but it's not morally improper to evade coercive, violent confiscation of your property. And that's what taxation is. Here's the other distinction. There's a lot of people mentioned in those papers who are heads of state, powerful politicians, and or their crony buddies who, cozy up to them for regulatory protection, IP protection, patent protection, whatever. They're getting profits. Both the politician, the heads of state, and his crony are getting paid on that same immoral taxation that we just talked about.
Is on a fixed income. How are they getting millions of dollars?
Yeah, that's how
on a fixed income.
Yeah, that's how they on $170 whatever $1,000 salary they're able to become
a volunteer
100 millionaires within 10 years. Yeah,
to the country.
Yeah.
How are they getting millions of dollars as a volunteer? How are they taking something and making everything? How are they taking just this side of nothing and making everything? How are they doing that, Dane?
Right. Yeah, of course. They're violating the laws that they pass for the rest of us because they know they can get away with it.
They would never do that.
But
if they're on my side, but if they're on the R side of the D side,
What
They
I'm saying
definitely do
is,
that.
even if that were not true,
The fucking swamp.
even if that were not true, their salary as a U.S. representative, senator, whatever, working in a bureaucracy, their salary is paid with theft. That initial immoral act has never gone away. So those people, politicians, the bureaucrats, whatever, their cronies that cozy up to them for the state's protection, it could be argued that their money is ill-gotten gains. So if they get dragged for trying to avoid the very system that they set up to enrich themselves, they're now avoiding it for themselves, then yeah, roast them all day because their money is ill-gotten gains anyway. However, if you're a rich person because you created a good or service that made millions of people's lives better to the point that they'll give you some of their money in order to use your good or service, and you get rich that way, you have made society better. You have not taken away from society. You have added value, as
Which
demonstrated
we
by
would
the
appreciate.
voluntary actions of other people. Evade away to that second group of people is what I say.
I think that second group of people are few and far between.
Well, of course.
However, what I will say is that, again, it goes back to a COVID argument. It goes back to every argument that we've ever made that involves government. You're on a fixed salary. How does a Nancy Pelosi become a multi-million-dollar-naire? How does she do that? Oh, she's in a really high place of power for a long time. Mitch McConnell. We can keep going down the line.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, like, the president has to give over his tax returns. Why shouldn't, if that's the precedent for the president that only can serve a maximum term of 8 years, why would we stop there? Let's go for the people that can serve a lifetime term and keep getting reelected. Why would their tax returns not be on the block? One asks.
Yeah, or just don't let them trade on the stock
Or
market.
don't let them do something that's illegal for all of us to do, but is totally legal for them to do.
And here's the thing. It's a whole nother can of worms to talk about why I don't think insider trading is a problem. Like it should not be. It should not be illegal.
Day.
But the point here is, if the politicians are the ones making it illegal for everybody else and then partake in it, yeah, we're going to feel a certain type of way about that. So again, with this narrative, the cathedral wants it to be simple for you. They want you to see the headline, rich person, no pay taxes, therefore everything that happens in your life that's bad, whether you don't have universal child care or universal health care or your roads are a little messed up or this, that, or whatever, it's because the rich are evading taxes. Not because the government's spending your money on a bunch of other ridiculous stuff, enriching people, by the way, in terms of their cronies and themselves. That's the lens that you need to view a story like this through. Who is creating the problem in the first place?
Or, go ahead.
And based on that problem that they've created, are they now saying, hey, we made something where it's like that old, I think, Harry Brown quote, government is good at one thing, breaking your leg, handing you a pair of crutches and saying, see, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be able to walk. That's the American tax system in a nutshell. The government creates the problem and says, ooh, give me more power so I'll fix this. I'll come up with the solution, even though
lock in on
you're not going to keep it in a box.
And to lock in on the I'm going to tax the rich argument, they've had, since we've been alive, just this side of 40 years to nail it down, to come up with an ironclad, you can't escape this. If they couldn't nail it in 40 years, next year will be the year. This year will be the year. We'll get it. You know what? We're going to make the ironclad document now that no lawyer can find ways out of at all.
Here's your takeaway. Quit rooting for the robber.
Vote for less taxes, because it's not going to help any of us, ever. So second point, thing that we alluded to before.
Yes. The Facebook whistleblower. Now, unless...
Isn't that convenient, by the way, that some insider that got all the way up to the upper echelons of Facebook is now bold enough to come out after Tiger King was the biggest thing that's ever happened to America in 2019, followed closely by the social media dilemma. What was it? The social dilemma? Oh,
yeah. Well, I mean, the timing is what it is. I don't know how long. I don't care about her backstory, how long she worked up to get in the position she did to be able to have access to the information that she did. I will say that, though, it is rather funny when you juxtapose how she was treated, right, versus Edward Snowden still in exile. I think Julian Assange still locked up in an embassy somewhere, if not somewhere worse. You got the meme was Seth Rich, the Hillary Clinton campaign guy who's dead, and it's like they're complaining about their situation, and Seth Rich is like, "You guys are alive?"
You said Snowden. When he released his documents and told basically that the government is spying on us,
who was he going after?
Who was he going after? And who was president at that time? It was Trump. It was Obama. Well, hold on. Time out. Hard time out. You mean the guy that before he was elected was all for whistleblowers, was all for accountability, was all for making things fair and even?
Yeah, I think a big part of his campaign was the whole Patriot Act is bad. It's violating all these rights, and we can't be letting that happen.
And then the guy that renewed the Patriot Act and made it even stronger with more teeth then saw fit to say that the man that told us that our own government is spying on us needs to be brought to justice?
Yeah, it was a national security threat.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, the Snowden case, again, you could probably gather from Dave and I, that's the most egregious one. But again, Julian Assange, what he did in terms of exposing the war crimes. They finally
got him, didn't they?
So, there's, suffice it to say, when it's a true whistleblower, you'll know it. Because that person will be hunted from every segment of society.
They'll be a terrorist. They need to be brought to justice. This, that, and the other.
Now, how was Wonder Woman Facebook? How was she treated? Well, all inside of a week, she created a brand new Twitter account, I think within like 48 hours or so. That account was blue check verified. She got a full 60-minute spread. She got called in front of Congress to testify.
Wait, hold on. Time out. Time the F out. She got all 60 minutes?
I don't remember. I didn't watch the whole thing.
Did she get...
She was featured in 60 Minutes.
All 60 minutes. Because I don't know. No one is bigger than 60 minutes. And if you get all of those 60 minutes, my God, you are somebody. Okay, and that blue check mark
I'm gonna give you.
They'll mail you the blue check mark. It's going to be like...
I'm going to give you a full disclosure.
Ed McMahon might hand it over. He's like, you made it!
Hey, are you...
That's probably a little too old.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I mean, the only thing I watched about this story was her like 7 or 8 minute opening statement when she was testifying in front of Congress. And it was the typical stuff you probably think. They're eroding our democracy. They're letting extremism go. They're like the new melting pot of the destruction of our civilization.
Meanwhile, all the politicians are going, oh, this needs to be dealt with immediately. How did this slip under our radar for so long?
So her basic argument is, again, keep the Snowden, because this is particularly important here.
This is understanding that no politicians have Netflix whatsoever.
No.
Never watched The Social Dilemma.
Right. Yeah. Never heard of it. Whatever. Think about what she's asking for versus what Snowden and Assange and, Seth Rich, if he was going to blow the lid on what the Hillary Clinton campaign did during the 2016 election, he's dead. Can't talk now, so we don't know about him. But the other two, so just those three, and there's many, many more, who were they calling out? They were calling out the powerful. They were saying there's an abuse of authority here. There's a violation of your rights by your government. Hey, this ain't cool. We probably shouldn't be allowing this in our, true attacks on democracy. If you're somebody that cares about democracy, I would say, spying on the citizens and violating their rights left, right, and center is a pretty heavy no-no in a place that is governed by quote unquote we the people. But what is Miss Facebook wanting? She wants government to do more. She wants this allegedly quote unquote private platform of Facebook, which totally is not just imbibing the state's narrative on everything and already censoring speech that the state doesn't like. COVID. It's already doing that, and her complaint is the government's not doing enough. The government needs to take over more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. She wants the thing that dictated the last four elections to be government mandated? That's weird. That's weird that she as an individual would want that. That's weird how that
she
would
wants
happen.
The government to regulate Facebook.
Regulate it. Just don't interfere. Just hands off. But if somebody steps out of line, by God, please. But Dane, referring back to the episode before this and a couple of minutes before this, you got kicked off of Facebook because you called somebody a potato.
And I may have alluded to the fact that they were possibly paint chip eaters. I don't know which of those two is worse, but one of those things had to be it.
If that was on Modern Family, neither of those would have been bleeped.
We can agree on that.
Okay, so cool. And you got removed from Facebook for 24 hours. Yeah. Oh, well, that's you got erased. How can you even exist without social media anymore? But hold on. If you can't exist without social media, but you want the government to regulate social media, how can you exist without the government telling you that you're able to exist?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a step towards what China already has, which is that social credit system, where I was listening to a guy who either grew up there or lived there, but he came to the U.S. not too long ago. But he was explaining how the social credit system works. And it's like, if you are tagged in a photo on, I think MeWe is like their version of Facebook. Not MeWe. It's something else. It's not MeWe. I completely take that back. It's something else.
It's their version of Facebook.
Yeah.
The Chinese version
of Facebook. You're tagged with the wrong person or, friends with the wrong person, whatever. It lowers your social credit score to the point that you can be closed off from other areas of society if your score gets too low.
This sounds like a Black Mirror episode.
I think they had a social credit system.
Oh, they absolutely did.
The girl with that always wanted to impress. Yeah.
With Ron Howard's daughter, the one from Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's scary how accurate Black Mirror actually is.
Yeah, I know.
This is not a read for Black Mirror, but keep going, Dan.
So, damn it, I'm so much of a tangent.
I'm so sorry.
Yes. So back to the theme of the episode, which is, if the narrative seems too simple or it's too good to be true, it probably is. So the first narrative, the Pandora, too simple. There's plenty of nuance there you got to dig through before you form an opinion on that subject. In this case, it's too good to be true. When every other whistleblower that happens to call out power is running for their life or in hiding, and the one that happens to come forward with a narrative of, we need you to have more power and control, and she's verified everywhere, 60 Minutes, gets a whole media tour, like she's become a celebrity because she threw out those platitudes of we have to protect our democracy and all of that other nonsense. You should be questioning that narrative when you hear it. That's sus.
If you think that that's not enough evidence to question, then let me offer Zuckerberg's rebuttal to
which
this
I have not
narrative.
heard. So
I've read it. I'm gonna spark note it. Basically, he's saying, why would I want to make my users angry? That would make them not want to go onto my application. That was his whole argument, and he had like a 20-minute diatribe of, it was basically surmised as, why would I want to make my users angry? If they were angry, they wouldn't want to go back onto my site. But if you know human psychology, you would know that anger is much more derivative, it is much more calling than happiness. If you're happy, you wouldn't have to go back to it. If you were angry, you would want to go back to it, and you want to prove that other person wrong that was wrong, and he has to know he's wrong. Therefore, I'm going to prove to him that it's wrong. Or option B, the algorithm that keeps showing you the things that bolsters your argument and clouds the logic behind the other person's argument. So you'll never actually see the fine line between the valiancy or the efficacy of both of your arguments is blurred beyond comprehension, so you'll never actually see the same reality. No, I would never do that. I would never do that to make more money and then try to collect things that were yours for my own personal gain to sell to other people. Well, that would never happen, ever.
But And here, okay, yes, I agree. So
that is the most straw man argument against whatever 60 Minutes.
So here's another consideration for that. His whole wailing and gnashing of teeth of, I'm going to make my customers angry. Why would I do that? That's just a facade. He's feigning like he's actually concerned when he's not concerned. Remember, just a couple of years ago, Zuckerberg went and testified in front of Congress and essentially asked them that, yeah, we probably need some regulation here and you should let Facebook handle it. So, I mean, again, we've talked about this concept before on the podcast. That is textbook definition of regulatory capture, where the industry that is supposed to be allegedly regulated now has such control over the rules that govern that regulation and the people writing it that the regulation basically exists for one purpose and one purpose only.
Have you ever watched?
It's to keep out competition. So, big established player writes all the rules. Nobody can compete with them. Is he truly going to be concerned about losing customers that can't go anywhere? That's always... Think about what is always said when people complain about Facebook. They say, oh, private company, well, you don't like it? Go start your own. Okay, but there is a bit of a network effect. Once that network is already created, it's very hard to break it. Because if you create another site and you're trying to get people over to that site, they'd say, why would I come to your site that's got 10 users? I'm just going to go, everybody's on Facebook. So again, his tears and pity is a complete act to say, oh, no, this is bad. I'm really upset about this, when he knows he's going to be writing the rules and he's going to be the only player and the government's going to protect him and you ain't going anywhere if you want to have family connections and the other benign stuff that Facebook stands for.
Have you ever watched wrestling, Dane? I'm talking WWE, formerly WWF, WWE, CP, all the ones that are on SmackDown, Raw, whatever the hell they want. Have you ever watched that?
The first main guy that I was like a real big fan of was Bill Goldberg in the WCW.
Oh,
he had the spear.
The spear.
See,
which was a form tackle.
I could be a total homer and be like, oh no, it was like Hulk Hogan or it was Macho Man. Yada, yada,
I'll admit, I was a total fanboy of the WWF at the time, and my favorite wrestler was The Rock. And The Rock was always in combat with Stone Cold Steve Austin, which I always respected. And then all of a sudden, in one glorified moment that had no business being even a part of it, they looked at each other and they joined forces. And then all of a sudden, it was The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. So it's like...
The nostalgia's killing me.
It's like raining down on me. Please, if you like this, share it, clip this, do it, whatever the hell you want with it. but that is circa 1996 and 8. Anyway, not important. What is important is that that's exactly what's happening now. They're painting each other as adversaries. But what's really happening is that they're painting them in the social light as adversaries, but now they're conjoined. Now they realized one entity, i.e., capital positions, electoral conjugates, whatever, realizes that there's another entity that dictates how they get in, i.e., Facebook, Instagram, yada, yada, yada. Now, how do we get control over this? So we still present the illusion of choice, but still completely control it.
Sounds like politics.
That sounds exactly like politics to me, which sounds exactly like the WWF. So when it's too easy, you gotta call them out. This isn't Days of Our Lives. This is actually Lives of Our Days. I don't know what the fuck that means, but we're going with it.
Yeah, it's yes, I hope we have driven the point home, and that I would honestly, you know that Michael Scott thing, sometimes I start
Just be
sentences
smart.
and I don't know where it's going to go until the end. Sometimes
Right.
David starts off with analogies and I'm looking at him like, okay, we
Gotta
haven't
give me
discussed
room to
this.
breathe.
I don't know
got
where
this.
he's going.
I got this. I'll find
But
it
when
out.
once he gets to the end of it, it's like, yeah, that's actually a perfect analogy, and I think you for enriching us with that. I agree, because
They
I was
think
like,
we're
what
stupid.
the hell is he talking about
They
with the
think
wrestlers?
we're fucking stupid. That's the thing, is like they keep writing these Marvel movies like, oh, Marvel's so great because everyone tells me that it's great. It's like, it's the same movie. Galaxy Defenders, or whatever the hell it is the same as Iron Man 1, 2, and 3, is the same as Thor 1, 2, and 3, is the same as all the other. It's formulaic.
I have a slightly darker analogy.
Please.
From
I
history?
I love dark.
Wouldn't Goebbels have been a lot more effective if he wasn't in Hitler's inner circle? And I'm not saying he wasn't effective. I'm at what his
You're going
job
Manichaean.
was.
You're going Manichaean right now. We're going
No,
back to
I'm violating Godwin's, or I'm proving Godwin's law. But is that, you know, as long as a conversation goes on long enough, the chances that
well, we're going to talk about Nazis.
Yeah.
If it goes on long enough.
All right. So,
And the other
but
thing
hear me out.
is,
I let you finish yours. Hear me out.
Hitler will.
So I'm just saying that if Goebbels was posited as this kind of like outside third party objective force that was parroting what the regime wanted, as opposed to like being in the inner circle and doing it, there's a little more element of credibility to that, right? Because you're not saying, well, he's not on the take, he is on the outside, he just happens to agree, so these guys must be on the right path. Well, that's essentially the function that Facebook is serving here. Because again, before this happened, Facebook is censoring anybody that has anything even remotely uncontroversial to say about COVID. Like, natural immunity is a real thing, which we've known about since forever, until like 18 months ago. The collective mind just happened to forget that natural immunity is a thing. You know, Facebook's censoring stuff like that. So it doesn't seem like it's some Wild West where they're not regulated and they're not carrying the regime's narrative forward. So now Zuckerberg gets to be all tears and pity and pretend like, oh, Big Daddy government, don't hurt me.
Oh, please.
But like David said with the wrestling analogy, the enemy factor of it is fake. And they're going to write the rules to make sure that they stay the dominant player, and they're just going to be the state's mouthpiece. But again, not from within the inner circle. They're just going to be the third-party mouthpiece that makes sure that the speech is censored enough, but you can't really come down on them because they're a private corporation, remember? They're not the government. They can't violate the First Amendment. That's the level of argument you get to a concern like this, but it's a very, very real concern.
Very real and very dangerous. That's all we'll say. Anyway, Dane, where could they find this illustrious episode of this podcast?
They can catch this episode and share it with friends from Weapons of Meme Destruction, wmdpodcast.com/64.
And actually, if you don't even like people and you don't like us, Share us with the people that you don't like.
Especially.
Like, if you're like, they're stupid, waste your time with this podcast, please.
If they make it to the end of the episode, their heads will either be exploding with anger or exploding like the logo and like, holy crap, I got to rethink.
Don't do us a favor. We don't want any favors. We want to fight to earn your
We understand it's like 1% for the former and 1% for the latter and 99% for the former. We don't, people that hate us ain't going to listen to an episode and be like, I think those guys are onto something.
You don't.
But if you want, even if you just want to annoy them, because you know that our voices will annoy them.
Put it this way. If you're a Facebook member, you probably won't like us.
You want to share wmdpodcast.com/64. You want to share it from any of the major podcast apps, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes,
Spotify.
But you can also get us on YouTube. Just search Weapons of Meme Destruction and find us on Twitter, Instagram, and the TikTokies. David, so this is their second episode this week, and 7 within 2 weeks? Lucky sons of guns. What did they do to deserve us?
If you haven't had your fill of us, then come back, because we're going to come back stronger, longer, and we're going to take some blue pills, and we're going to last as long as we said that we were going to.
Actually do that.
Yeah,
yes.
all of those.
All right.
Blue
so
Chew.
with that,
that's a read. Excuse me. Blue Chew is a sponsor of this episode. They're not, but they should be. Anyway, go ahead.
All right.
Because we're longer than we should be. We're always longer than we want to be. And by God, if Blue Chew isn't the perfect sponsor, I don't know who is for that.
I feel like this should have been in the middle of the episode, but we'll
throbbing
take it.
right now. It's throbbing, and we don't know if it'll ever go. Are we going to MD now? We can't. I don't look at it. Don't touch it. It's angry at you. It's angry at everybody. Get away.
All right. With that being said, we will see you Monday for episode 65.
You got it.
Signing out.
Peace.